natures. Text 1 through 3. Sanskrit and English. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhayam Sattva Samshudhir Jnana Yoga Vivastiti Dhanam Dhamascha Yagyascha Svadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodas Tyaga Shantir Upaishanam Daya Bhuteshvalo Lutvam Mardavam Hrir Chapalam Tejakshama Dhriti Shocham Adroho Natminanita Bhavanti Sampadam Taivim Avijatasya Bharata. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy, and the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to the godly men endowed with divine nature. So let's feedback in a little, Rishi. All right, text number 4. Dambo darpo bhimanascha krodha parusha evacha agyanam cha vijatasya partha sampadam asurim. Translation. Arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature, O son of Pritha. Text 5. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibhandaya surimata ma shucha sampadam daivim abhijatosi pandava. Translation. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. Text 6. Dvau bhuta sargolokesmin daiva asura evacha daivo vistarasha prokta asuram partameshanu. Translation. O son of Pritha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called the divine and the other demonic. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. Text number 7. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidhur asuraha na shocham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. Translation. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. Text number 8. Asatyam apratishtam te jagad ahur anishvaram apaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama ahaitukam. Translation. They say that this world is unreal, there is no foundation, and that there is no God in control. It is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Text 9. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashatmano bhutarya prabhavatyugra karmana shayaya jagatodita. Translation. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Text 10. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambha mana madanvitaha moha grihitva sadgrahan pravarjante shuchivataha. Translation. The demoniac, taking shelter of insatiable lust, pride, and false prestige, and being thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work attracted by the impermanent. We'll do 11 through 12. Chintam aprimeyam sha pralayantam upashitaha kamopavoga parama etavad iti nishchitaha asha pasher sarvabha kama krodha parayana ihante kama bogartam anyaninartha sanchayan. Translation. They believe that to gratify the senses unto the end of life is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus there is no end to their anxiety. Being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. Back to text number 1 through 3. So I'll move through this purport here. And verse, the Blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity, nonviolence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy, and the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharat, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter also, the devas, or godly, and the asuras, the ungodly, or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation, and such activities are known as Deva Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, as well as the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as garbhadhana samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father or mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The social institution known as Varnashram Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions or castes, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so he can get liberated from the material world. In the Varnashram institution, the sannyasi, or the person in the renounced order of life, is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness. because a sannyasi has to be alone, without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he thinks, after leaving my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within, that he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna, as Paramatma, will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, without fear. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is a stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connections with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possessions of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyas order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chotahari Das, was personally associated with Lord Chaitanya, along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chotahari Das looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. Lord Chaitanya said, "For a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back to home, back to Godhead, for him looking toward material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity, is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires." So these are the processes for purification. The next item is Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person, and out of sheer humility the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if he is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if he has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, sattva samsuddhihi, purity and yoga and jnana yoga knowledge. The next item is charity. Charity is meant for the householders. The householders should earn a livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. Thus, a householder should give in charity to such institutional societies that are engaged in that way. Charity should be given to the right receiver. There are different kinds of charities, as will be explained later on. Charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness is recommended by the scriptures, but charity in the modes of passion and ignorance is not recommended because it is simply a waste of money. Charity should be given only to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is charity in the mode of goodness. Then as far as Dhamma, self-control is concerned, it is not only meant for other orders of religious society, but it is especially meant for the householder. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. There are restrictions for the householders even in sex life, which should only be engaged in for the propagation of children. If he does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is not in the transcendental quality, but is demoniac. If anyone, even if he is a householder, wants to make progress in spiritual life, he must control his sex life and should not beget a child without the purpose of serving Krishna. If he is able to beget children who will be in Krishna consciousness, one can produce hundreds of children. But without this capacity, one should not indulge only for sense pleasure. Sacrifice is another item to be performed by the householders because sacrifices require a large amount of money. Other orders of life, namely the brahmacharya, the vanaprastha, and the sannyas, have no money. They live by begging. So performance of different types of sacrifice is meant for the householder. They should perform Agnihotra sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literature, but such sacrifices at the present moment are very expensive and it is not possible for any householder to perform them. The best sacrifice recommended in this age is called Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So these three items, namely charity, sense control, and performance of sacrifice, are meant for the householder. Then svadhyaya, Vedic study, and tapas, austerity, and arjavam, gentleness or simplicity, are meant for the brahmacharya or student life. Brahmacharis should have no connection with women. They should live a life of celibacy and engage the mind in the study of Vedic literature for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is called svadhyaya. Tapas, or austerity, is especially meant for the retired life. One should not remain a householder throughout his whole life. He must always remember that there are four divisions of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So after grihastha, householder life, one should retire. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in student life, 25 in householder life, 25 in retired life, and 25 in the renounced order of life. These are the regulations of the Vedic religious discipline. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of the body, mind, and tongue. That is tapasya. The entire varnashram dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is neither recommended in the Vedic literature nor in Bhagavad Gita. Such theories are manufactured by show-bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. If there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion just to have a show only don't restrict the lives of their students, nor their own lives, but that method is not approved by the Vedas. As far as simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow this principle, but every member, be he in the brahmacharya ashram, or grihastha ashram, or vanaprastha ashram, one must live very simply. Ahimsa means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. One should not think that since the spirit spark is never killed, even after the killing of the body, there is no harm in killing animals for sense gratification. People are now addicted to eating animals in spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk. There is no necessity for animal killing. This injunction is for everyone. When there is no other alternative, one may kill an animal, but it should be offered in sacrifice. At any rate, when there is an ample food supply for humanity, persons who are desiring to make advancement in spiritual realization should not commit violence to animals. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life. The animals are also making progress in their evolutionary life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. If a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or so many years and is untimely killed, then he has to come back again in that form of life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So their progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's palate. This is called ahimsa. Satyam. This word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages, but the meaning or the purpose should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. That is the process for understanding Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from the authority. One should not construe some interpretation for his personal interest. There are so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita that misinterpret the original text. The real import of the word should be presented, and that should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. Krodha means to check anger. Even if there is provocation, one should be tolerant, for once one becomes angry, his whole body becomes polluted. Anger is a product of the modes of passion and lust, so one who is transcendently situated should check himself from anger. Paishana means that one should not find fault with others or correct them unnecessarily. Of course, to call a thief is not fault-finding, but to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. Kri means that one should be very modest and must not perform some act which is abominable. Achapalam, determination, means that one should not be agitated or frustrated in some attempt. There may be failure in some attempt, but one should not be sorry for that. He should make progress with patience and determination. The word teja used here is meant for the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas should always be very strong to be able to give protection to the weak. They should not pose themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. Shocham means cleanliness, not only in mind and body, but in one's dealings also. It is especially meant for the mercantile people who should not deal in the black market. Nati manita, not expecting honor, applies to the Shudras, the worker class, which are considered, according to Vedic injunctions, to be the lowest of the four classes. They should not be puffed up with unnecessary prestige or honor and should remain in their own status. It is a duty of the Shudras to offer respect to the higher class for the upkeep of the social order. All these 16 qualifications mentioned are transcendental qualities. They should be cultivated according to the different statuses of the social order. The purport is that even though material conditions are miserable, if these qualities are developed by practice by all classes of men, then gradually it is possible to rise to the highest platform of transcendental realization. Any comments or questions? Yes, Maturana, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, I have a question that came up on this last page regarding frustration in an attempt to be determined. So, one is endeavoring with great determination, sometimes it happens where we get frustrated with our own ability, our lack of ability, and maybe our tendency to get spaced out sometimes, So I guess my question is this okay to get frustrated when you're, subtly, just if you're using it for, motivation to improve in your service?
I would say that frustration doesn't really come, it doesn't really go along with Krishna consciousness very well, because he's not looking for some result. He hasn't got his mind set on some particular result. And even if he tries to do his service and there's some impediment which restrains him from doing his service, he's still trying to do it. So that attempt to trying to do it is what Krishna is looking for. Not that if he can use his intelligence or his abilities, and by Krishna's grace those impediments are removed, very good. But if not, I'll give an example. Srila Prabhu was looking for a long time to get land in Mayapur. He wanted to have land there for his world headquarters. And it wasn't happening. He kept trying, and the prices, that people raised their prices, and then there were some people that didn't want the devotees there. Muslims didn't want it. So many things. But Prabhupada kept trying and trying and trying. And it looked like he might get something, and then again it would fall apart. So at one point he said, maybe Krishna doesn't want us to have a place right now. And that may also be, that's a possibility. Krishna, we can't think that Krishna has to want things to be successful the way I think they're supposed to be successful. He may have a completely different idea, which is probably a lot better than our idea. So there's no question of frustration. Prabhupada was never frustrated, even in Jhansi, when he was given the use of a beautiful complex that he could use for a temple as headquarters, and then it was taken away by some social intervention. Some influential people took it away. He could have tried to go to court and get some fighted and say, demand his rights, but he didn't. He just figured, Krishna doesn't want me here, he wants me somewhere else. And afterwards, later, he confirmed that was true, that the Dwarkadish deity in Los Angeles was calling him, why are you worried about Jhansi? You should be here. So something like that. We all have experience like that. So frustration is just a waste of energy. It's not really anything purifying about it. Of course, we can see that if I become frustrated, I should try to see it as a purification. That's also good. Even if I don't perform well, I shouldn't become frustrated with that frustration that caused me to not perform well. Don't become frustrated twice. Just take it that you're trying your best and pray to Krishna more and go on with your service and not be attached to the results, and realize how weak you are or how disqualified you are, but still you're so fortunate to be engaged in devotional service. So there's no need for frustration. Because he doesn't have his mind set that it has to be done, it has to happen like this. If we do have that, If we have ideas what we want for the results, and that doesn't happen, then we get frustrated. And that's material.
Yes, Dr. Fred?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for the class, and please accept my humble obeisances. I appreciate you reading this purport. I was wondering if you or Maharaj could discuss this Chota Haridas incident. You looking lustily on a woman, like if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful incarnation, and someone that was his personal associate got sent away from just lustily looking upon a woman, then what does that mean for an individual like myself?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's the most merciful incarnation. I mean, this pastime is also in a display of his mercy. But he was, as Prabhupada mentioned, he was wanting to set the highest standard for the renounced sort of life, so it wouldn't be taken cheaply. And so for us, in the Brahmacharya ashram, we're trying to practice celibacy, and from the background we come from, it's pretty unfavorable for that life. But by practice and our sadhana, our process, then one can gradually be purified of these desires. So in Kali Yuga, one's thoughts are not, one doesn't get reactions from their thoughts necessarily, like in other yugas, but it's the actions. Of course, the thoughts also, they turn into things, like turns into desire, attachment, and then feeling to willing, possibly. So it does have an effect. So one has to understand what the standard is for the renounced sort of life, which is to be kicking out these thoughts when they come, just like as the rivers flow into the ocean, but the ocean remains undisturbed. Like that, then one is trying to get into that state of consciousness. So we can take this pastime as something that, realizing how serious the renounced sort of life is. Of course, this is talking about sannyas, which is a consciousness which we're trying to aim for, which is being renounced, detached from the material world, focused on Krishna only in mind, body, and speech. So it is definitely a practice, though.
To be like this undisturbed ocean when we're coming, or I'm coming from such a sinful background, how do I not, or is the answer just to continue on? Is that the only way we don't give in to our past conditioning? Because sometimes it's not that I want to give in, I want to be Krishna conscious, but sometimes I feel inundated by honestly sinful thoughts, and it's not even that sinful thoughts are just relating to women or money. A lot of the time it seems that it starts with the idea that, being with my birth family is like a safe haven or a good idea or like a comfortable spot. But I know that behind that is sinful activities, but I don't really want these thoughts. I'm just trying to understand how to like actively kick them out. Is it just like dust that we sweep up once we see it? Or what do we do?
Well, Krishna discusses this point in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks the same question. What is it that forces us to act sinfully as if it was against our will? And Krishna said, it is lust only. And he said, but in the very beginning you can curb this lust by regulating the senses. So that's the curbing element, is to be regulated in devotional service. Go on with the process because it works. It actually gives one purification and strength to go on, and lust does become curbed. Sometimes devotees become very, as they say, hard on themselves, and they say, I think I'm more lusty now than I was before I joined. Well, let's look at that for a moment. I usually tell them, let's examine that. What were you doing before you joined? And I said, did you have any relationships? Yeah. So he was engaged in relationships. Now you're not engaged. He said, yeah, but then I didn't think about it very much at all. Now I think about it so often. But it is a big difference because, as was mentioned, performing the act and thinking about performing the act are different things. One is a more inflamed case of lust, and one is he's thinking about it, but he's trying not to think about it. He's trying to chant. He's doing his best, and Krishna will help him. So many times Prabhupada would say, do your best and Krishna will help you. Try your best. So you keep trying. Utsaha nisaya dharya tat tat karma pavartana. Enthusiasm, determination, patience. Be enthusiastic. Then, okay, today I lost a few rounds. I won a few rounds. I'll try harder tomorrow. I'll try again tomorrow. Pray to Krishna. Pray to the Vaishnavas. Pray to the spiritual master that I be given another chance to keep trying. And that kind of determination and patience. Daryat, he's going on, he's patient. Even if he doesn't receive the result in the time that he thought he should, he doesn't become discouraged or frustrated, keeps trying. And everyone learns that. Even those in the material world that are successful materially, they have to have these type of qualities. They can't give up as soon as there's some difficulty or things don't go the way they want. They keep trying and they keep practicing, and practice makes perfect. And that's why it's called sadhana, it's practice. Sadhana bhakti means practicing devotional service.
Right. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Magadari, Prabhu?
I had a question. Well, I really like how Prabhupada does this with the purport sometimes, and he explains the words. I really like to think about words, like individually, you know, some type of Vaishnava dictionary. Prabhupada has given us some little bit. So I had a question about the word modest. We heard a few times recently about Sharanagati, and I think it says like meek and humble, and I don't know modest versus meek versus humble, but Prabhupada says it pretty straight, something like you should be modest here, as far as I remember in this purport. But it doesn't.
This purport?
Yeah. It's part of the Shruti part, or tolerant.
Hari means that one should be very modest and must not perform some act which is abominable.
Mm-hmm. It's page 704.
Just like modest in dress. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that yuktahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasya, yukta svapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati tukaha. So this yukta means moderate. It means regulated, it means balanced. In other words, not that one should eat a voracious amount and then just have difficulty, become ill, or he should try to, if he becomes very proud and arrogant, glorifies himself, or does something, becomes angry, so he should be modest and consider that he's representing a very distinguished line of disciplic succession, and he must perform properly in all circumstances, and not allow himself to say things or do things that will be misinterpreted or will be criticized by the public. Prabhupada said, for example, when the devotees start growing their hair again, sometimes they did that, and Prabhupada said, these are hippie seeds growing. He said, if you do this in Vrindavan, everyone will think you're hippies. He said, as soon as they think you're hippies, then they'll have no consideration for this movement. So that's an example. He wanted them to at least consider that what they're doing, people are watching, and people will judge them. So they shouldn't do anything. And another example, the temple commander at that time was Harisari. He was giving this story, and he became a little angry with someone. He gave him a little push or something, and that turned into a big thing. He went and told his elders. They came back, came to Prabhupada. Prabhupada called Harisari in, the boy, and then he made them make up. And it was explained that if you act like that, if you do things impulsively like that, it can have terrible ramifications. So he wanted us to be modest in our dress, in our speech, in our activities.
Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai.